What's up everybody and welcome to my last video coverage of Netflix Avatar The Last Airbender, for now at least, pending where we get more news on season 2. So we previously went over the concept art for some of the cast members of this show, and today we're going to be going over the concept art for the 4 main characters, that is Aang, Katara, Sokka and Zuko. And I think this is a perfect way to wrap up my coverage of this show because I don't think I have any other thing to talk about. But before we get into what we have for today's video, you know the drill, please like, share and subscribe. I have so many videos on Avatar, so make sure you check them out. And with that, let's get into what we have for today's video. So let's start with our boy Aang, and the first thing we have to look at is how they achieved his cape. The costume designer said as much as we love the fabric for Aang's first cape in real life, that is his first photo, it photographs more pink than orange. The second cape, that is photo 2 and 3, was way too bright and vibrant. We had to test a whole bunch of other fabrics and narrowed it down to option A, B and C. And the final choice was option B. It's a bit darker in real life, but with the addition of breakdown and color definitions by Heather, it became the perfect color on camera, so wow. It's interesting to consider that something as simple looking as a cape took them a lot of work before they could achieve the final look. And for the final look, this is the part that captivated me the most. You know, when I first saw the outfit, I was thinking the brown outer layer was like a long shoe or something, but it turns out that he's actually wearing a brown pants before the yellow outer layer is then put on. And this is quite different from the animated show, because in the animated show, the shirt was kind of like a long cape down to the bottom and then his brown pants. But they kind of remixed all that and gave us something new in this remake that when you look at it at first, you won't think there's any difference, but there's actually a lot of changes to it. So the animated costume was good, and so is that of the live action. And we also have some fitting room bloopers. These are tests that the costume designers carry out with the actors to make sure that the costumes move freely with the cast so that they don't notice mistakes and errors when they get to the final phase of filming. So we have this blooper, let's check it out. Action.
I heard a rip.
Yep. These fitting room tests are really important because imagine having the costumes rip while they're actually filming. Moving on, let's get into the early concept art for Katara, and in my opinion, I actually love all the upgrades that her costume received in this live action remake. The patterns, the jeans fabric, I mean, like, just everything about it is just so good. Like, we can complain about everything about this show, from the acting, the directing or whatever, but we can all admit that the costume designers did a great job replicating what we saw in the animated show, adding more details to it, and giving us something worthwhile in this live action remake. And they all just look so good. So we have her here in her Omashu disguise. Yeah. Young Katara and a penguin. I wish we got to see some penguins in this show. Like, they didn't even show anything penguin related, and that was quite a bummer. Now on to Sokka. Let's look at the creation of his armor for the first episode. The costume designer said the making of Sokka's armor look from illustration to fitting to final look, complete with a boomerang holster. It was inspired by a combination of Inuit and Viking design. The leather was laser etched, the shoulders sculpted and cast. The rings were individually cast and hand-stitched on, and a lot of attention and details went into this look. Wow, I didn't know it was actually also inspired by Viking design, but it makes sense because those Viking shows, they are mostly in the north and all those Scandinavian regions that snow a lot. So it actually makes sense that they will pick 1 or 2 inspirations from Viking designs, and I think in the end, it turned out good. We also have the costume fitting of his parka. I didn't know this was actually called parka. I just called it sweaters, but that's the name. And it's just, you know, from start to finish and everything. And we also got your concept art of what it was supposed to look like. I don't know, he looks so funny in this picture. And also, we got the concept art and making of his tunic. And the caption that goes along with it says, Sokka's tunic look in a close-up, from fabric swatching to patterning to final look. To get the right texture and weight, we had to quilt the tunic fabric. We also ended up switching the vest fabric from a twill to leather. It read better and was much cooler, so I don't even know what all that means. It's because I'm not a costume designer, so these terms are foreign to me. But we can see the changes his tunic underwent before they arrived at the final look. They even wanted to give him something like a coat. I don't know. That looks like a coat to me. But we just have to work with what we got for the final look. Now, last but not the least, let's look at the early concept art and design for the character Zuko. And the first one we have here is his everyday armor. And the caption that goes along with it says, "From illustration to pattern to final look, here's a closer look at Zuko's first armor. We called this his simple armor, but there was nothing simple about it. Thanks to my Build FX team led by RWS Creative and Heather for their incredible detail work on this armor." So the simple armor is the everyday armor we saw him with in most of the episode. And I think the costume designer made a post one time where she was like, Zuko had the most costume change in the whole season compared to any other character. Because in each episode, we kept seeing him in like a different costume. And that speaks a lot to the dedication that I said that the creative team of this show had for the character Zuko that I wish they transferred to other characters in the show. But we also have the making of his formal armor, and the caption that goes along with it says, "This is the one we refer to as the formal armor. It had a bit more details and layers than the simple armor. And in the story, it was the first ever armor he wore as young Zuko for the meeting with the generals that led to his Agni Kai. He also wears it for his first meeting with the Avatar, so this is just like an extended version of the simple armor with just more layers to it to make it the formal armor." And finally, we have a blooper from his armor fitting, so let's check this out.
Fireman. Ready?
Action.
Oh, yeah, go through your motions. Yeah.
He looks like a chill guy to work with. Oh, damn.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
Keep going.
So I think that's all we have for the early concept art of the characters in this show. A huge shout out to the costume designer for walking us through this process. For those that are cosplaying the costume in this show, they're going to appreciate this process a lot. So thanks for sticking with me down to the end of my coverage of Avatar The Last Airbender. Thanks for the love and support through my coverage of this show. All of you that made comments, all of you that liked, all of you that shared. I really appreciate, and I can't wait to be back in this universe when we start getting more news for season 2 and updates for the upcoming Avatar movie next year. So until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.